Obviously, we've heard the word AI a bunch of times here on stage, but you know that it's reshaping existing industries and creating new ones from scratch. Let me see if I should say something. I think it's doable. And mobility, enterprise, and manufacturing are at the forefront of deploying AI into existing processes, achieving significant results, particularly in sustainability, driven by the growing amount of data available. Now, next up, we have a keynote exactly in this topic. The title is AI as the Game Changer for Sustainability Decisions. For this, we have the EVP, General Manager of Global Applications and Artificial Intelligence at the DXC Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to receive Howard Boville. You got it, you got it. Nice to see you, sir.
Pleasure, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. I just realized it's important to be on time, so I was setting the stopwatch on my phone so I can stay in good favors. Well, welcome everybody. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Howard Boville, and I work for a company called DXC, which is very much at the heart of the automotive industry. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a second. But firstly, I want to thank the organizers for this event, Saeed with the vision that he has, Sasha, and the curation that Marcus has in terms of the number of companies that he's curated down to have at this event, many of which we partner with. The reason why I'm delighted to be here and the reason why I'm so impressed with the event is I have ran investment and scouting funds in the past. They were based, however, in the US, so most of my scouting activities took place in Silicon Valley, but we would work with many pre-series A companies and help curate them into the industries that they wanted to actually thrive and prosper in. And we did that because I recognized in a former role as the Chief Technology Officer of Bank of America Merrill Lynch that by the time a startup had got through the Byzantine processes at the bank, we would have inflicted so much brain damage to them, they would have forgotten what their actual core purpose was. So these events are essential to allow innovation to thrive and prosper, but it's also essential for companies like DXC to be attending so that we can understand what the art of the possible is. So the few slides that I'll go through in the next few minutes will hopefully guide you as a startup or as a partner in terms of how we can help, the importance of partnerships, which has been a consistent theme for all the presenters, and provide some guideposts as to how to think where you focus your resources. So there are 10 things that we are focusing on in the deep experts that we have in the automotive industry. And it was fascinating to see Sasha present and also Saeed, because all of these areas resonate in terms of the same areas. But this can be a level of complexity if you're a startup. Which area do you put your resources to? Where do you put your deep domain knowledge? And how do you maintain that intestinal fortitude to know that the investors' dollars that you are spending is in the right direction? Well, at the heart of everything you should be thinking about is sustainability. If you have a path in terms of building sustainability in autonomous driving, into smart cities, into infotainment systems, and so on and so forth, you will be part of the ingredient of the many ingredients you need to be successful in the areas that you operate. And we believe that having sustainability in the design phase gives you the right design thinking for you to think about how you allocate your resources. But it can be bewildering in terms of how you operate. On the right-hand side of the chart here, you see the DNA helix as it is to operate in the automotive space. And if you are providing a point-based solution, how do you ensure that your point-based solution gets heard in the cacophony of noise that can be seen against all these functions and all these processes? And also, how can you ensure that you will stand out and differentiate in what you're doing? And what's essential in that is to be working with partners like DXC and with customers, either the OEMs or the tier ones and so on, to ensure you continue to validate the theses that you have in terms of ensuring that your offering is coming together in the right way. But you can see in these specific areas that actually not only are they all processes and functions, they also all talk in different languages. If you talk to a functional lead in supply chain, they'll talk very differently with a language to that of the aftermarket. Or if you're talking to a functional lead on sustainability in terms of materials management, either from base metals all the way through to the alloys, it's a very different language. So how do you actually then bring that together in a way that you can think about how you put your sustainability solution together in such a way that resonates with the customers? And AI is the actual solve for that. Because AI is the tool that actually helps deal with the Tower of Babel that you have when you work with many different functional groups, many different partners. It allows you to take the very pixelated dots that you can't see because they're too small because of the amount of data that takes place in all of those different areas, and actually raise it up to a different level whereby actually you can join the dots in the right way to assure that you're designing your solutions in the correct way and talking to the right people in the right language. You saw on Saeed's chart the pace of innovation as it relates to artificial intelligence. Electricity took 50 years to become an established technology. And then the next wave was 40 years. And then the next wave was 30 years. In the case of artificial intelligence, there has been many false dawns, but with generative AI, within 18 months, we have billion-dollar businesses being created. And there is a lot of talk about data being the new rocket fuel, the new fossil fuel of the economy. But the reality is, without artificial intelligence, the swathes of data that we have is irrelevant. It can't be used in a productive way. And therefore, using artificial intelligence tools to actually make sense of the intelligence that you can get from supply chain, materials management, and so on and so forth, are essential for you to ensure that your startup is working on the right projects to meet the right problem statements to move forward. So how do we translate these abstract terms into something that's more relevant in terms of how we operate? There's a number of use cases where DXC is helping large companies address sustainability issues. And I think it was Sasha that mentioned earlier on, it isn't just the innovation that you think about in automotive companies, it's also the innovation that you see in other industries. I come from financial services in an earlier part of my career, and financial services is very much part of the actual product offering in the aftermarket and the sales environment. We do work with construction companies that has a massive parallel in terms of how you think about sustainability for automotive industry. Ferrovial, which is one of the world's largest infrastructure construction companies on the planet, do large tunnels, airports, and roadways. And we have just built with them an AI workbench, an environment that their developers, their research and development people can work to not only think about how they use the best materials to build roads that are the most sustainable and will require the least maintenance, but also they use it for actually monitoring traffic and how much traffic flow they have to ensure that that data then can be used to help them with their tools, the annuity-based businesses that they run. But the data that we capture, whilst not relevant for their business, is relevant for autonomous driving, because we start to see patterns of traffic behavior, and for also smart cities. So as you think about how you build for sustainability, think about where you will go to get the large data sets, whether they're large language models or small language models, to build out the insights you need to be able to accelerate your product development. We also have been building the autonomous driving platform for the research and development function of one of the large German manufacturers. We've been doing that for over a decade. And we've built that with a whole ecosystem of different open source, proprietary solutions, very large companies, and incredibly small companies. But that platform over that 10 years for the autonomous driving platform that we have been building continues to actually evolve and innovate. And we get that innovation from events such as this. So when we started the work and started to capture the data necessary to get to this billion kilometers of travel time by a car, to get all of the probity and the assurance of the quality of the data, to ensure that a car can drive in all conditions, we started to actually use generative AI and large language models to help reduce the amount of time that a vehicle had to be on the road. We would take the real data of a driving condition, perhaps of the roads outside, and then we would overlay onto that with large language models, different weather conditions, or different lighting conditions, or different levels of congestion that allowed us to model at a far quicker pace than what we would be to actually drive those areas. And then the research and development teams within this automotive manufacturer take that data and then change the way that they have the software in their vehicles, how they work with their various other providers, their sensor companies, and so on and so forth. So the pace of product development now can be massively accelerated by the introduction of artificial intelligence. But it can also be massively disrupted. So the platform that we built 10 years ago, before AI, would typically be the rigid platform that you would have for quite some time. But actually, by the pace of innovation and the value that you derive from artificial intelligence, that platform has been adapted to actually incorporate small and large language models that previously would not have been used. And you can think about that in every aspect of the innovation that takes place. But with every innovation, there's always a yin and a yang. So it's always a consideration needs to be given to the dystopian view in addition to the utopian view. So we have to be very judicious in how we think about artificial intelligence, because the problems that you solve for carbon emissions by the innovation can be entirely lost by the amount of carbon emissions you have for the underpinning compute with GPUs, DPUs, and CPUs to actually get to those insights. And again, with the expertise that we bring, we can allow you to actually ensure that you get the benefits from the actual solution as opposed to actually then completely losing those from the amount of CO2 emissions you have on the compute side. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to be in Europe. I'm a European, but I've lived in the US for some time now. And I'm delighted to be meeting with startup companies here in the same way as I met with startup companies in the US and saw many of them prosper to be billion-dollar companies. And it's all about the relationships that you build. And it's all about the conversations that you have. It's all about challenging one another with positive intent to get a deeper understanding as to the perspectives that we're trying to solve for. And I look forward to getting to know many of you here and attending many of these other sessions in subsequent years. And my time is up. Thank you.